when you're dressing from your watch out, that's when you're really addicted.
Yeah, no, it's a problem.
Hello and welcome to Time+Tide. My name is Andrew McCutcheon. I'm the founder of Time+Tide, and I'm sitting here with Fergus Nash, whose voice you might know.
Hello, this is the voice you might know.
And who you probably don't know is heavily involved in helping us produce Time+Tide's Now magazine, which is a very good magazine. It has half of the magazine is editorial, and the back half is a list of the best watches of the last 12 months. Priced from about $200 to $2 million. It gets crazy at the top, Ferg.
It certainly does.
And Fergus is sitting here because how many of those listings did you write?
Of the 283, I think I wrote about 260-ish.
Excellent. So you're somewhat well placed to talk about what's in there. And look, we were just having a lunch, and I said, Ferg, I've never asked you what were Fergus's favourites from the latest issue of the magazine. And then as you started to think about it, I said, no, don't tell me. Let's do this on video. Let's do a completely fresh, unrehearsed, unscripted.
And unscripted definitely, because having written so many of them, it's really hard to remember 260 odd watches just off the top of your head. So I did need to go back to the magazine and sort of refresh my brain a bit. So, in no particular order, by the way, the first one that I want to talk about is the Grand Seiko Seasons GMT, the SBGJ 249.
If you're memorizing that,
I do have some sneaky knee notes, but we can just pretend that I've got that great a memory.
I'm not looking at Fergus's crotch. There's just literally some knee notes.
Well, you shouldn't be looking at my notes either. It's spoilers. Anyway.
True. I'm not.
So this watch I was obsessed with for quite some time. I'm sure you're familiar with the white birch that's been on everyone's mind lately.
The biggest watches of the year.
Essentially, the white birch tinted blue and flipped horizontally. So instead of woodish sort of chipped pattern, you've got what looks like one of just the most detailed and intricate wave dials that I've ever seen. Yeah. And I think personally I find quite a fondness with the ocean and those sorts of things, but you talk about ocean watches and you think divers and you think big beefy things, and what you don't often get is the elegance that the ocean brings. And I think that's what...
The moods of the ocean.
Exactly. And I think this is meant to sort of represent the rippling surface of a river or pond near the Grand Seiko studios, as they say. But I think, yeah, I could just imagine wearing that one and looking out at the sea and just fish and chips at 7 o'clock at night, you know, sun setting and just perfection.
Just Australian perfection.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to actually add to that, because one of my favourites of the year and a purchase of mine for the year was the SLGA 007, which is another blue dial Grand Seiko from the 9 series with, you might remember the gold applied logo, and then this, again, hammered blue dial that resembles very much the slightly sort of wind-touched surface of a body of water. So they're really good at water.
Well, they're good at everything, let's be honest.
It's true. Masters of nature, masters of time.
Yeah.
What's the second watch?
So next up, I'm going to continue on the Seiko theme and pick out the Sharp Edge GMT, specifically the green dial with the rose gold GMT hand.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have been picking up on this one, but also not as many as you'd expect. Like, so many Seiko releases come out and then they have a big, massive, I guess a round of applause from people, and then they sort of fade away. So you've got your limited editions and that sort of thing. But this Sharp Edge GMT has really stuck out in my mind because I think it's one of those watches that really blurs the lines between Seiko and Grand Seiko.
Yes.
But without being one of those Seiko models that costs upwards of nearly 10 grand or whatever. It is a bit bigger than most Seiko fans would be that comfortable with, because like usually Seiko short lugs, you're gonna get a tight fit. The lugs are a bit longer, but I think that if you can call it a sacrifice, then that sacrifice is definitely worth it, because the finishing and the details on the dial are just so nice.
At a much more accessible price than Grand Seiko.
Definitely, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. Number 3, I'm going to go a bit more upmarket.
Good.
And perhaps one of the most upmarket, and say the Octofinissimo by Bulgari, the chronograph GMT. I mean, I personally, even though I've already mentioned a blue watch, I actually don't really like the color blue. So when a blue watch comes to me and I can see that it's just becomes one of my instant favorites, then you know it must be doing something right.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the Finissimo's been a game changer for Bulgari. My favorite blue dial from Bulgari this year was definitely the Octo Roma World Timer, which again, I just think Bulgari have this sort of a lush blue, grained sunray style dial, just so down. It's a killer.
I think probably my favorite part of any Octofinissimo is the case, because I can just look at that case all day and sort of just, almost doesn't matter what the dial is.
Yeah, true.
Because the case is
dial, it's one of those watches where the dial isn't the hero, it's the facets of the case. And I think at one point, Fabrizio told me how many facets there were on it, and I'm not a numerical person. There's a lot of facets, so good choice.
Very architectural.
Yes.
Anyway, the next one, I'm going to pick the Oris Cotton Candy.
Yes,
so,
what a smash.
Bronze case, all the rage, pink dials, all the rage, put them together, and it just, I think, it's probably a bit too much for some people, and I feel like a lot of bronze cased watches sort of, they run the same themes over and over again. You've got like black dials or green dials, and they look great, but if you're looking for something a bit different, then that just absolutely pops, and the bronze bracelet as well is pretty special.
And look, I think the interesting thing about the bronze alloy that Oris use is that it's quite unstable, as opposed to, for example, the Tudor, which was a purchase of mine this year, the bronze boutique edition of the 58. The aluminium is a big part of that bronze mix for Tudor. It's less likely to patina anytime soon, whereas certainly the Oris is quick.
Yeah.
And I know that because I bought a bronze Oris this year, which was the Red King, the Fretel Oris. I couldn't resist that one. I thought that's a particularly lush combination of like a burgundy, like a rich red, and then this bronze. But within days, it was oxidizing in front of my eyes. And in a way, I found that quite exciting. Like there's IWC is particularly controlling about their bronze alloys. They don't want that to get out of hand. The Hamilton, the khaki filled mechanical Hamilton, also very stable, showing no sign of any nature. Whereas Oris, it's a riot. It goes in front of your eyes. Good choice. And I think they're really hard to get.
Yeah, well, yeah, they can be difficult just because it's such a winning combination. And I think the versatility of it is probably a bit more than some people would expect, especially if you're talking about patina and like that's a very specific look. If you want to keep it clean, you can just wash it and it'll be sparkling new. Well,
the thing that you do have, last comment on this, is that you can do a full reset, which I've done with my Fretel Oris once, which is a bit of old toothpaste and toothbrush, and then you're back to beautiful shiny gold. So kind of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my last watch is a bit of a weird one. I think not many people talk about it, which, considering the brand, is unexpected. It's a Rolex, and it's the 36mm Datejust with the palm dial.
Palm dial, yeah. I could see that working with your combo.
Yeah, with this, I actually do have a safari shirt that would match it perfectly.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think
when you're dressing from your watch out, that's when you're really addicted.
Yeah, no, it's a problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rolex is one of those brands where people, they're so just popular and wanted that you can go either way. You can sort of lust after it like most people do, or you can take the attitude of, oh, it's popular, so I don't like it. And I think I've always strayed a little bit closer to that second person, but deep down I've always sort of, you have that luxury aspect that only Rolex has as a brand. It doesn't even matter if the watch is more expensive or harder to obtain. It just has that cachet that absolutely everyone recognizes. And seeing something unique from that brand is quite rare, but not in a way that makes it unobtainable, just in a way where no one else is really going to be wearing it. So I think, yeah, seeing a just safari palm leaf dial Rolex would just be...
hit the spot.
It would definitely hit the spot.
Those quirky flashes of personality from Rolex, to me, are irresistible. Like the Milgauss with its strange lightning bolt hand, second hand, anything that strays from the norm for me is always extra interesting. So this one just pops out in that bold mix of colors as a really quirky one, because it just doesn't fit, but it's more compelling for that. I agree.
Absolutely.
Cool. So thanks for watching, and thank you, Fergus, for stepping out from behind the bleeding typewriter to share your 5 favorite watches from this year's buying guide. You know us as a YouTube channel. We do other things like our website and a magazine, and I hope you've enjoyed learning about that today.
Cheers, have a good one.
Thank you.